In a brain spotting session, we are somatically activated in our body to go with a feeling to explore our trauma further so that we can heal and feel lighter and more free. Healing isn't easy, it's painful, it's emotional, and it's draining, but it's for the greater good. Listen to today's episode to find out more about what's involved in a brain spotting session. Hello, you're listening to the Courageous Goals podcast. This podcast is for high-achieving, courageous women who want growth and the know-how to scale their business online. Running a business is a journey and a process. The more we learn in action, the more we succeed. If you're a woman in business, this is the podcast for you. Be in the 5% of businesses that make it. Let's get bold and create the life we desire. I'm bringing my passion to you through advice, coaching, inspiration, and support to help you create and design the life and business you want to live. I am a Dubsado expert, CPD certified in social media platforms, and a lover of admin systems and processes. I am an accredited ICF coach, specialising in trauma and narcissism. My own coaching journey has supported my growth immensely, and I want to share those highlights with you to inspire and give you courage. Let's get intentional with our goals and make them happen. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Courageous Goals podcast. Recently, I became a brain spotting therapist. I trained with the BSP UK, which was set up with Caroline Strawson as part of her trauma-informed coaching program. And the weekend where I trained to become the therapist, we spent a very intensive 3 days together on Zoom with Mark Grixti, the trainer, and many of us women in Caroline Strawson's group. The weekend was full of emotions. I spent practically 3 days crying, but let's just say it was good crying. It was therapeutic, it was what was needed, and I didn't realise how much I actually needed it. A lot came up that I didn't expect to come up, but I guess that's the nature of working on yourself and going on a long journey of therapy in your own way. And so today's episode, I'd like to talk to you about what's involved in a brain spotting session, because I've had a lot of people come to me having heard and seen a few posts that I've put out there and how amazing it is, and I guess I just wanted to share with you roughly what I learned and how it can help you. So Mark Grixti himself, he actually trained in EMDR, and he's now been a brain spotting therapist for the last 10 years and apparently hasn't even entertained the idea of going back to EMDR. He believes brain spotting is a much deeper therapy. It actually is. It's scientifically proven. It's a much deeper therapy. And so I guess I want to explain a little bit about what it is. So brain spotting, it's kind of what it says in the title. So it's about your brain and spotting specific parts that activate you. It's not one single spot in your brain. There are several different spots, but it's about finding what is activated in the brain, but you are feeling it in your body with somatic activation. And it's achieved by several different steps. It's, when you go into a session, it's about finding where the client currently is. They're usually coming to you for a brain spotting session because they've got a specific topic that they'd like to talk about. So it's about asking them where they're at and let their body kind of activate them. So you are really, really focusing on whatever it is that you are experiencing right now in your body, and going with it, feeling the thoughts, feeling it in your body, feeling the pain if there's pain that comes up, and then really working out where you are with the subject units of disturbance. So you're measuring that on a scale from 1 to 10, and they call that SUDS. They just use the abbreviation. So it's where you're activated, what's disturbing you on that scale of 1 to 10. And obviously 10 being the highest level of disturbance. And then asking you as the client to locate where you feel it in your body. And then there's different ways of using brain spotting. So you've got inside spotting, outside spotting, gaze spotting, which is my favorite, and resource spotting. I tend to do a lot of gaze spotting myself. I never really knew what it was, but since learning how to be a brain spotting therapist, it now all totally makes sense. So let me give you an example. Have you ever really sat, I don't know, you could be working, or you could be out having a really busy day, you know, you're just, you know, you're there, you're present, you're with everybody, and then all of a sudden you'll find yourself just totally gazing into the distance, or even just focusing on something close by, and you're thinking about something completely different that's not relevant to what you're doing now, or it might even be relevant to what you're doing now, but your thoughts are running away with you. But then all of a sudden you're back in the room, or someone, you know, says, Leanne, have you seen this? Or, you know, whatever, your focus has changed. So with gaze spotting, it's kind of like that, but instead of losing those thoughts and those feelings, you're accessing them at a deeper level in your brain. So you go with the gaze spotting, you know, wherever you feel it, what you're thinking, what it's doing, how it's activating you in your body. And since the therapy weekend, you know, the training, I have really been looking at myself in a different way when I find myself gaze spotting, because I think we tend to do these sorts of things when things come up, and instead of ignoring those thoughts and feelings and activations in your body, I've been trying to go with them and see what comes up. And so it's really interesting not actually just putting it aside, carrying on with, you know, whatever it was that I was doing, and just ignoring those thoughts and feelings, and actually going with those thoughts and feelings. It's really interesting doing it on your own. So you're kind of thinking about what you're thinking about, I guess. But when you're actually working with someone and saying those things out loud, you end up on a path that maybe you didn't expect to experience. And what I experienced on the training weekend, we were able to do some observations with Mark himself. He did some sessions with a few people that volunteered in our group, and it was transformational the way that these people were so activated in the session. So they started the session, you know, they laid out kind of, you know, what they were thinking, what they wanted to work on. Then, you know, they were asked or guided to go into whatever they felt necessary to really activate themselves. Then work out how activated they were. And then at that point, you can really see like the emotions that come up, whether that's sadness or anger or rage or whatever it was. You can see those feelings rise in that person's body. And then when Mark was asking them to go with those feelings. You know, as the therapist, you're not really saying that much when you're in a session. You're holding that space for that person, and you are reminding them, asking them to go with what they're feeling. And at times, there can be completely blank, silent moments for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it is, because you can see that client, that person, working through whatever it is they're working through, and you can see they're activated, you can see they're reliving whatever it is, maybe the pain or what, you know, whatever it is that they're there for their topic. When we did our training, there was a lot of pain, so that's what we were all witnessing. And then all of a sudden the emotions, you know, they could either be let out. So some people were crying a lot. At other points, there were people who might have got angry, and they really let that out. They let their bodies feel it. And the way that the therapist really holds that space for that client to do what they need to do, to go with their feelings, to process those thoughts. And for quite a few of us, how things really changed and developed. Even your perspective on what you thought might have happened, how your brain or how people in your life or whatever might have said about that particular thing, that particular trauma, that event, whatever it was, over the years, and how you've built up this thing that you thought something was. But because of how you're working on yourself, because you've allocated that spot, you've gone with those activations and those feelings in your body, and you're feeling it, though that particular trauma or event changes completely, because you may not have, you know, it's quite difficult to explain being new to brain spotting therapy, but it changes. Like, what you thought might have happened isn't what happened. It's how you feel and what it does to you and how it's changed you as a person. You are the person you are today because of X, Y, and Z. All these different things that have affected you in your life. They don't have to be little t or big T, as in little trauma, big trauma. Every single person's experience of whatever in their life has got them to where they are today. And in brain spotting, you know, some people might see a big trauma as huge. Wow, I haven't been through that, so the things I've been through are completely irrelevant. That's wrong, completely wrong. You could have been through what you would class as a little trauma, but it has affected you in your life in whatever way for a reason. It doesn't mean it's any less than someone else who's been through something that you would see as a bigger trauma. And being able to work on that and really feel it in your body. Yes, it's painful. It's absolutely excruciating to go through it. But the light bulb moments that come at the end of that session, the relief that you see on that person's face, that you feel if you're going through the session yourself, it is completely transformational. You know, I ended up having a session with one of my peers on the training course, and I ended up talking about something that I didn't expect to be talking about. But now it totally makes sense, and I feel more at peace with it, because I guess I was telling myself something. Other people that had said things throughout years of my life had said certain things, and I guess the way I remembered it was wrong. And so accessing that spot and feeling what I felt and realizing actually it was like this. It happened like this. Oh my gosh, the weight just lifted. You know, I really felt it in my body. My shoulders relaxed. I wasn't so tense, and everything just kind of made sense. And yes, it, like, the pain is still there, but it's nowhere near what I thought it was. And yeah, just the relief that you feel at the end of that session is unbelievable. And for those of you that follow me or have connected with me, you'll see that I have mentioned this the last few weeks. So I think the training was roughly 4 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, I can't remember now. But I have been processing these thoughts and feelings for these many weeks since the training, and it's got lighter every single week. And I definitely feel so much more at peace now with that particular topic, because I can see it differently, and I don't feel that there are unanswered questions or anything like that. I just feel more at peace with it. And I'm one of those people that believe everything happens for a reason. And I guess I was holding on to this particular topic for so long, wondering what if and why, and all those things that come up with things when you might regret something. But yes, being able to process it in this way is so very different. So going back to the original question of what's involved in a brain spotting session, it is all about you as the client. If you have got trauma that's affected you your whole life, or if you've got trauma that's affected you for the last month, whatever it is, if you have got something that has affected you and you haven't been able to deal with it, it has affected you in more ways than you can say, brain spotting might be for you. Yes, there are other therapies, there are counselling, there's EMDR, there's CBT, there's all sorts of different types of therapy, but brain spotting works on a much deeper level. It's accessing the unconscious. You are going with the body for somatic activation and measuring that on a scale and seeing how traumatic that feeling is for you. To go through the brain spotting session, yes, it probably is going to be painful. It might not be, but it's probably going to be painful. But do you want to let this trauma affect you for however many years more? Or would you like to try and access it, relive it, go through the pain, subconsciously feel it and work through those thoughts, feelings, emotions, and see what comes up to you? You don't need to suffer forever. You just need someone that understands, that can give you that space and that time and tell you it's okay, that it's okay to have those thoughts and feelings and be you. You need to be in a trusting, professional relationship to be able to work on whatever it is that you need a brain spotting session for. When we understand, when we feel listened to, we are able to really process our feelings. And I really, really invite you, hugely 100% invite you to think about what's stopping you, what's holding you back, what's affected you so much for you to be thinking or considering about brain spotting. If you're thinking about brain spotting and wondering if it's for you, you're probably thinking, actually, this is for me, but I'm scared, or I don't want to experience the pain, or I don't have time for this, all these other things that could come up. I know, truly, I know, because I'm you. I have experienced a lifetime of pain in lots of different ways, and I've been through a hell of a lot of trauma, hence why I'm training to become a trauma-informed coach, to become a narcissistic abuse specialist, to be a brain spotting therapist. I'm doing all of this because I have experience, because I understand, and because I want to support you. I hope that this episode has given you some clarity on what brain spotting is. I do have access to a video that might help explain it a little more. It's in like a comic version. It's on the BSB UK website, and I will drop the link in the show notes for you. If you're interested, please do go ahead and watch that video. I think it's about 10 minutes long from what I remember. And you're welcome to contact me if you've got any questions, if you're curious, if you'd like to find out more. And I'm here for you. Thank you so much for listening to the Courageous Goals podcast. I really hope you've enjoyed today's episode and taken something of value for you. If you'd love more advice, coaching, inspiration and support, head on over to join many other courageous women in business in our free community group over on Facebook. We'd love to welcome you. You can also find free useful resources over on the website at leannebrown.com/resources. Right, that's all for this week. I look forward to sharing another episode with you next week.